A city divided Belfast and the media mirror, Belfast in the 1970s. A city split, torn apart by deep-seated divisions, Catholics and Protestants divided by history, religion, and now, violence. The streets echoed with the sounds of conflict. The Troubles had gripped Northern Ireland, and the world watched in horror. The violence seemed unending. But how much of what they saw was shaped by the media? How did the portrayal of events influence public perception? Did newspapers and television simply reflect the conflict, or did they add fuel to the fire? Were they impartial observers or active participants? This is the question we grapple with: the complex relationship between media and the Northern Ireland conflict. The lines were often blurred. Imagine picking up a newspaper in Belfast back then. Each headline a stark reminder of the turmoil. The headlines screamed of bombings and riots. The front pages were filled with stories of chaos and destruction. The images showed burning barricades and masked gunmen. The visuals were haunting and relentless. The words painted a picture of two sides locked in a deadly struggle, a narrative of us versus them. But was this the whole story? Were there nuances and complexities that were overlooked? Or was the media perhaps unconsciously reinforcing the very divisions it claimed to report on? Did they perpetuate the cycle of hatred? The early days of the Troubles saw media coverage often mirroring the existing societal divisions. The media landscape was a reflection of the fractured society. Newspapers, often aligned with one side or the other, presented biased accounts, demonizing opponents and glorifying their own. The bias was palpable. This, of course, only deepened the chasm between communities. The divide grew wider with each passing day. Fear and anger festered, fueled by the narratives they consumed daily. The media's role in shaping these emotions was undeniable. The Guardian, a respected British newspaper, took a strong editorial stance in the early days of the Troubles, a period of intense conflict in Northern Ireland that began in the late 1960s. It called for British intervention, advocating for the deployment of troops to quell the unrest and restore order in the region. While presented as a peacekeeping measure, this stance was seen by many Catholics and nationalists as siding with the Unionists, further alienating them and adding to their sense of injustice and marginalization. This is just one example of how media coverage, even with the best intentions, could exacerbate tensions and deepen divisions within a community already fraught with conflict. The Guardian's stance, while perhaps reflecting the views of its readership, likely reinforced existing biases and shaped public opinion in a way that hindered reconciliation and prolonged the conflict. The BBC, as a public service broadcaster, faced an even more complex challenge. Tasked with impartiality, it walked a tightrope between reporting the conflict and avoiding inflaming it. However, its early coverage, while cautious, was often criticized for being pro-unionist, reflecting the prevailing establishment viewpoint. As the Troubles wore on, the BBC faced pressure from all sides: the government, paramilitaries, and the public. It grappled with censorship, both externally imposed and self-imposed. The public order broadcasting policy, while intended to prevent incitement, often led to muted reporting, leaving some voices unheard. Section 4. Propaganda and censorship silencing the truth. Media, during the Troubles, wasn't just a mirror reflecting reality. It was a weapon wielded by both sides. Paramilitaries used it to spread propaganda, justifying their actions and demonizing their enemies. The government, too, attempted to control the narrative, censoring information and suppressing dissenting voices. This censorship, while intended to maintain order, often backfired. Silencing moderate voices only fueled the sense of grievance and mistrust. The suppression of information, rather than quelling the conflict, often drove it further underground, making reconciliation even more elusive. Section 5. Building bridges. Media as a force for peace. Despite the challenges, media also played a crucial role in building bridges between communities. Journalists, risking their lives, sought to tell the human stories behind the headlines, giving voice to the voiceless and challenging the prevailing narratives of hatred and division. Programs like Talkback on BBC Radio Ulster provided a platform for open and honest discussion, allowing people from all sides of the conflict to share their perspectives and find common ground. These efforts, while small, offered a glimmer of hope, demonstrating the power of media to foster understanding and reconciliation. Section 6. The Legacy of the Troubles. Lessons in Media Literacy. The Northern Ireland conflict offers valuable lessons for today's world, where information warfare is increasingly prevalent. The way information was manipulated and used during the Troubles can teach us how to navigate the digital age. It highlights the importance of critical media literacy, the ability to discern fact from fiction, and to recognize bias and propaganda. In today's world, where misinformation spreads rapidly, these skills are more crucial than ever. The Troubles remind us that media is never neutral. Every piece of news is crafted with a certain intent, often influenced by political or social agendas. Every story is told from a particular perspective, with its own biases and agendas. Understanding this helps us to critically evaluate the information we consume. As consumers of information, we must be vigilant, questioning what we read and see, seeking out multiple perspectives, and engaging in respectful dialogue. This active engagement is essential for a well-informed society. Only then can we hope to navigate the complexities of our world and build a more peaceful and just future. By learning from the past, we can better understand the present and shape a more informed and equitable society.